The day I found out my sibling was hiding something. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My brother finally stopped smiling when Detective Ruiz slid the folder across the table. Not a thick folder. Thin, like the kind of thing that ruins you quietly. One stapled packet, one USB bag, one printout of my credit report with red circles around numbers I didn't recognize. Jamie Hall, Ruiz asked. I nodded, throat tight. The station lobby behind us smelled like burnt coffee and old raincoats. Alex sat to my right in a navy blazer he wore like armor, knee bouncing so hard the metal chair squeaked. Ruiz pointed at the report. You're saying these accounts aren't yours. I'm saying I've never been in a BMW dealership in my life, I said. And I definitely didn't open a line of credit for Hall Consulting, LLC. Alex let out a laugh that was too loud. This is ridiculous. Someone's scamming her. It happens. But when Ruiz turned the printout toward him, I watched Alex's face change. Just a flicker, like a mask slipping. Under recent inquiries, there was a date I couldn't unsee, April 12th. The day Alex borrowed my laptop because his work email got hacked. I wasn't some influencer with a safety net. I was a dental assistant at a pediatric clinic, paid hourly, the kind of job where a surprise wage garnishment meant rent didn't get paid. My landlord already hated late checks. My mom, Diane, was 2 months away from refinancing her house in the suburbs, and my name was still tangled in her old utility account from when I'd moved out. Tasha had told me to come in prepared, so I did. I'd printed my own screenshots, the fraud alert text at 2:17 a.m., the voicemail from a collections agency, the screenshot of an email reset request sent to my address, spelled wrong in a way only my family ever did. Ruiz looked at me like he already knew the answer. Who had access to your social security number? I swallowed, staring at Alex's hands. His thumb rubbed the edge of his wedding ring even though he wasn't married. Just my mom, I said. And my brother. Alex leaned back, smile returning, but his eyes stayed flat. Jamie, don't be dramatic, he said softly, like a warning. Ruiz clicked his pen, eyes fixed on Alex. We pulled surveillance from the mailbox store, and Alex is on it. If you'd asked me a month earlier whether Alex could do something like this, I would have laughed. Not because my brother was a saint, because Alex was a performer. He knew how to make you feel lucky to be in his orbit. Growing up outside Columbus, he was the kid teachers remembered and neighbors adored. He won most likely to succeed twice, somehow, and Diane kept the newspaper clippings on the fridge until the magnets yellowed. I was the other kid, the reliable one, the one who did dishes without being asked and didn't make waves. Whenever Alex got in trouble, Diane smoothed it over like it was her job. He's under stress, she'd whisper to me in the kitchen. Don't push him. When I cried because he'd taken my car without asking and brought it back on fumes, she'd say, Jamie, you know how he is. Like that was a weather pattern, not a choice. As adults, it didn't change, just got more expensive. Alex bounced between big opportunities that never quite became real. He always had a new business card, a new plan, a new story about someone stealing his idea. He called me his little sister, even though I was 29, like it made me small enough to dismiss. And I let it happen because he was still my brother. Because Diane would look at me with those tired eyes and say, please, not tonight. The night everything started, we were at Diane's house for her birthday. A normal dinner. Pot roast, boxed wine, Alex telling a story with his hands like he was on stage. Tasha texted me under the table, credit alert. Call me ASAP. I tried to keep my face neutral. Alex noticed anyway, because he always noticed when attention shifted away from him. What's with you? He asked, smiling. You look like you swallowed a lemon. It's work, I lied. Diane reached across the table and squeezed my wrist. Just be nice, she murmured, like she could sense a storm coming. I remember thinking, right then, that my family's peace was built on my silence. My phone vibrated again. New account opened. Hall Consulting, LLC. Credit limit $9,500. Verified by phone. The next morning I sat in my car outside the clinic, hands shaking so hard I spilled iced coffee on my scrubs. I opened the credit monitoring app again, hoping it was a glitch, the kind of false alarm people joked about online. It wasn't. There it was in black and white. Hall Consulting, LLC. Revolving credit. Opened April 12th. balance $1,842. Under it, two hard inquiries, one from a local credit union, one from a furniture store I'd never stepped into. I called the number on the alert. A robotic voice asked me to verify the last four of my social. I did, because I was panicking and because my brain still hadn't accepted that my identity could be a crime scene. A customer service rep came on, cheerful like we were discussing cable packages. "Ms. Hall, your business account was verified by phone and email," she said. "Would you like to add an authorized user?" "My business account." I repeated. "I don't have a business." There was a pause as she clicked around. "I'm seeing the email on file as Jamie. Hi, I at," she read it slowly, with two capital I's. That detail punched me harder than the balance. My real email had an L, not an I. Someone had created a look-alike address close enough to fool a tired employee. And the phone number attached to the account ended in 44, Alex's favorite number. He put it on his license plates, on his gym locker, on everything like a signature. I hung up and called Tasha. She answered on the first ring, voice low and flat, like she'd already walked through the fire without me. "Pull your full report," she said. "All 3 bureaus. Screenshot everything. Do not call your mom yet." I took lunch break in my car and did exactly that. 27 screenshots later, I had a timeline. April 12th, April 14th, April 19th. A charge at a mailbox store for $62. A payment from an account I didn't recognize labeled A. Hall. When I confronted the thought, Alex, I actually laughed out loud, alone in my Corolla. He was obnoxious. He was selfish. But he wasn't this. That evening, an envelope arrived in Alex's handwriting with my name on it. The envelope wasn't sealed well. It looked like someone had ripped it open, peeked inside, and tried to fix it with a strip of tape. Inside was a "Welcome to your new business account" letter from the same credit union on my alert, addressed to Jamie Hall, my address, and my social mast except the last 4, printed like it belonged there. I drove straight to Diane's house because I needed air, not because it was smart. Alex's truck was already in the driveway, clean. He opened the door before I knocked, grinning too wide. "Hey, kiddo." I held up the letter. "Why is this coming to my apartment?" His smile didn't fade, but it tightened. "What even is that?" "A business account. In my name. Opened April 12th. I watched his eyes. "That's the day you borrowed my laptop." He chuckled and reached for the paper like he could make it disappear. "Jamie, you're spiraling. Anyone can open stuff online. People steal mail." "Then why is it addressed to me?" "Because criminals do that." He leaned in, voice soft, intimate. "Listen, I'll handle it. I know people at banks." I pulled back. "No, I'm handling it." Diane appeared behind him in her slippers, hair in a loose bun, birthday balloons still drooping in the hallway. She saw my face and sighed like I was a chore. "Sweetheart," she said, "what's going on now?" I told her. Fast, messy, the way you confess when you're afraid no one will believe you. I showed her the dates. The fake email with the 2 capital I's. The phone number ending in 44. Alex put a hand to his chest like I'd accused him of murder. "Mom, she thinks I did this," he said, hurt dripping off each word. Diane's eyes snapped to mine. "Jamie, why would you say that?" "Because the details match him," I said, voice cracking. "Because he had my laptop." Alex shrugged. "A lot of numbers end in 44. Then Diane did what she always did. She turned the anger toward the safest target. "You need to stop," she said, voice sharp. "You're accusing your brother over an app notification." "It's my credit," I whispered. Alex stepped closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "Drop it," he murmured, still smiling. "You don't know what you're poking." And as he said it, his jacket shifted, and I saw a second phone tucked inside. I drove home with my knuckles white on the steering wheel, replaying his words. "Drop it," like a song I couldn't turn off. At a red light, my phone lit up with Diane's name. I almost didn't answer. "Jamie," she said immediately, "I want you to text your brother and apologize." "Apologize?" I laughed, and it sounded ugly. "Mom, someone opened accounts in my name. And you're blaming Alex with no proof," she snapped. "He's upset. He's been under a lot of pressure." Pressure. That was always the magic word that turned Alex's choices into everyone else's responsibility. I hung up and called Tasha instead. I told her about the letter, about Diane taking his side, about the second phone I'd seen for half a second. Tasha didn't gasp or say no way. She just went quiet. then said, "Okay." We stopped talking and start verifying. That night, she met me at my apartment with her laptop and a legal pad like we were about to study for finals. She'd pulled a template for an identity theft affidavit and highlighted the parts one needed to fill in. We started listing facts, dates, amounts, addresses. April 12th, business credit line, $9,500. April 14th, furniture store inquiry. April 19th, mailbox store charge, $62. May 3rd, hall payment, $200 from an unknown bank. At 11:48 p.m., Alex texted me, "You good? Mom says you are freaking out." 2 minutes later, "I can fix this, just let me." Tasha leaned over my shoulder and whispered, "That's not concern. That's containment." I wanted to argue, because admitting she was right meant admitting my brother wasn't just careless, he was managing me. I went to bed with my phone on silent and my stomach in a knot. At 3:06 a.m., I woke to a ding anyway, a login alert from my email. Location, Westerville. Device, iPhone. I didn't own an iPhone. In the morning, I checked the building mailroom and found something wedged behind the flyers, a small brass key on a tag. Alex had always mocked my tiny apartment as a shoebox, but he loved using my spaces. The tag read Columbus Storage, Unit C17, and my stomach dropped. Tasha and I treated the key like evidence, because that's what it was. She made me put it in a sandwich bag and write the date on it. May 6th, 8:12 a.m. "If this goes legal," she said, "details matter." We started with the least dramatic step. I froze my credit. 3 bureaus, 3 confirmation numbers. I wrote them on the legal pad in block letters like I was trying to convince myself it was real. Then we drove to Columbus Storage on Cleveland Avenue, the kind of place squeezed between a tire shop and a payday lender. The office smelled like dust and cheap air freshener. A teenager behind the counter looked at the key tag. "Unit C17, he said. "You the renter?" "My name's on the account." I lied, because my name was on everything else now. He tapped his keyboard. "C17 is under Hall Consulting, LLC. He glanced up. "You got the access code?" I didn't. But Tasha's eyes flicked to the wall of security cameras, then back to me. "Ask if there's a photo on file," she said. The kid shrugged. "We got an ID scan. Want to update it?" He turned the monitor toward us for 1 second. The scan was blurry, but I knew that jawline. The grin. Alex, holding his driver's license like he was proud of it. My stomach tried to climb out of my body. We couldn't open the unit without the code, policy, he insisted. So we pivoted, because Tasha was good at pivoting. We went to the mailbox store listed on my credit report charge. The manager, a woman with a sharp bun, listened while I explained the fraud and slid my stack of screenshots across her counter. She sighed like she'd heard it before. "Mailboxes get used for stupid stuff," she said. "I can't give you customer info without a report." Tasha leaned in, calm. "We have a report number as soon as the officer files it," she said. "But can you confirm one thing right now? Does mailbox 214 belong to someone using the name Hall Consulting?" The manager's eyes narrowed. She opened a drawer and pulled out a receipt copy. "Paid in cash," she muttered. "But the phone number on file ends in 44. My throat closed. Alex's number. The one Diane had saved under my son. Tasha didn't look at me. "He built a whole address around your identity. Diane texted me that afternoon like nothing had happened. Can you come over? I need help finding my tax papers." It was such a mom thing, bureaucracy as an excuse for forced closeness, that I went. Part of me hoped she'd finally believe me. Part of me wanted to look Alex in the eye and see if he'd flinch. He wasn't there. Diane was alone at the kitchen table, surrounded by piles of mail and a shoebox of receipts. She handed me the box like I was still 16. "Sort these by year," she said. "And please, be normal." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted metal. Halfway through the shoebox, I found a folded contract with the Columbus Storage logo. My hands started sweating before I even opened it. On the first page, account name, Hall Consulting, LLC. Under Authorized Contact, my full name was printed in neat type. And tucked in the back, written in Alex's unmistakable handwriting, gate code 3177. I didn't tell Diane. I took photos, front, back, the code, then slid the paper under the stack like it had never existed. My heart was pounding so loud I barely heard Diane asking if I wanted coffee. An hour later, Tasha and I were back at the storage facility with the key and the code. This time the teenager didn't ask questions. He buzzed us through the gate like we belonged there. Unit C-17 sat at the end of a row, padlock rusted just enough to look old. My hands shook as I turned the key. The metal door screeched upward, and stale air rolled out like a breath. Inside were plastic totes, a folding table, and a cheap printer still plugged into a power strip. The table was littered with manila folders, stacks of blank checks, and those tiny orange SIM card packets you see at gas stations. Tasha flipped open the top folder and went still. On the first page was my social security card, photocopied. Next to it, my birth certificate scan. Then a color print of my driver's license. Except the photo wasn't me. It was Alex, wearing my name like a costume. I made a sound I didn't recognize as my own. "Oh my God," I whispered. Something else was taped to the inside of the folder, bright and childish. A crayon drawing of a stick figure family was signed, Milo. We sat on the storage unit floor like two kids who'd broken into a place we weren't supposed to be. Only this wasn't teenage rebellion. It was paperwork and plastic that could ruin my life. Tasha took control, because if she didn't, I would have started throwing boxes. "Photos first," she said. "Touch as little as possible. We document." So I did. Fake license with Alex's face and my address. Blank check paper. Prepaid SIM kits. A mailbox receipt stapled to a bank welcome letter. A cheap laminator like he'd built a tiny identity factory. Then we opened the tote labeled legal. A court folder from Franklin County Domestic Relations, stamped March 28th. Child Support Enforcement. Notice of delinquency. Amount past due, $18,430. Obligor, Alex Hall. Child Milo R. I stared until the letters blurred. "Alex has a kid." Tasha's voice stayed steady. "Looks like it." Behind that were money order stubs and Western Union receipts, plus eviction papers in a woman's name I didn't recognize. A messy, desperate trail of payments. And then came the part that made my hands go numb. Credit cards, all with my name embossed on them. 3 different companies. 3 different balances. All mine on paper. One statement printout showed a purchase at Modern Nest Furniture for $4,870 on April 19th. Another had a string of gas station charges, then a cash advance fee that screamed panic. Every billing address pointed to mailbox 214, like he'd anchored the lie there. I photographed the last 4 digits and felt something cold settle in my stomach. "So he did steal my identity," I said. Tasha nodded once. "He didn't just steal it. He used it to keep breathing." In one ugly flash, the past month rearranged itself. Alex's work trips, his cash shortages, Diane whispering that he was under pressure, his warning that I didn't know what I was poking. If these accounts defaulted, my wages could be garnished. My lease renewal could get denied. My clinic could decide I was a risk. Then Tasha pulled a letter. Diane's name sat on the top line. We drove back to my apartment with the trunk full of photos and my brain full of noise. I kept seeing the fake license, Alex's face wearing my name, like a horror movie prop that refused to leave the frame. In my kitchen, Tasha laid everything out in a neat row, my screenshots, the storage contract photos, the court delinquency notice, the credit card images. "Okay," she said, "here's the part nobody on TikTok tells you. If you report identity theft and you know who did it, you will be asked to name them." I sank onto a chair. "So if I do this right, my brother could go to jail." "He could," she said, "or he could get probation, or a plea. But Jamie, if you don't do this, you're accepting his debt as yours." My phone buzzed with a message from Diane. "Are you calm now?" As if my nervous system was the problem. I stared at it and felt split in two. One side of me wanted to call Alex and scream until my throat broke. The other side wanted to protect Milo, this kid I'd never met whose drawing was taped to my brother's crime folder. I kept imagining a small hand holding a crayon, trusting someone who was apparently capable of anything. What if I confront him first? I asked. Give him a chance to fix it before I blow up the family. Tasha shook her head. Confronting him first gives him time. Time to drain accounts, close mailboxes, delete emails. I've seen it. She slid a blank form toward me. Identity, theft, affidavit. The word affidavit made my stomach twist. Step 1, she said, tapping the page. You protect your credit. Freeze. Fraud alert. Dispute. Step 2, you get an official report number. Step 3, You decide how to handle your mom. My mom is going to hate me, I whispered. She already expects you to be the quiet one, Tasha said. That's not love. That's a role. I signed the affidavit anyway, hands trembling so hard my signature looked like a stranger's. Then I filled out the online report and got a confirmation. Case ID #FC 22173. Tasha photographed the screen and said, "Now we don't do anything alone." My phone rang, and Alex's name flashed across the screen. I didn't answer the call. I watched it ring out. Then I turned my phone face down like that could silence my fear. 2 minutes later, someone knocked. 3 sharp raps, the rhythm Alex used when he didn't want to be ignored. Tasha's eyes met mine. "Chain on," she whispered. I cracked the door. Alex stood in the hallway with a grocery bag like a peace offering. He looked tired in a way that almost seemed practiced. "There you are," he said, voice warm. "Mom says you're not answering. Why are you here?" He lifted the bag. "I brought you soup. Can we talk?" Tasha stepped into view behind me. Alex's eyes flicked to her, and for a split second, something hard flashed through the charm. "Oh," he said. "You brought backup." "Jamie's busy," Tasha said. "Text her." Alex's smile held, but his jaw tightened. "Can we talk, Jamie? Just us?" "No," I said, surprised by my own steadiness. "Right here." His gaze dropped past me to the counter. "What's with the paperwork?" he asked, too casual. "Nothing," I lied. He took a step closer anyway, voice lowering. "I can fix this. I already called around. I can close the accounts, dispute, whatever. But you have to stop escalating." Escalating? My throat burned. "You opened credit in my name." His shoulders sagged like he'd been waiting for this moment. "I didn't want to," he said. "I had no choice." There it was, the line that always worked on Diane. Alex's eyes got wet. "You don't know what it's like to have people depending on you," he whispered. "Milo." I went cold. "He's my son," Alex said fast, watching me. "I didn't tell Mom because she'd lose it. I was trying to keep things stable." "You stole my identity to pay child support?" "I borrowed it," he snapped, then softened immediately. "Temporarily. I was going to pay it back." Tasha didn't flinch. "Jamie already filed a report," she said. Alex's face emptied. "What report?" The hallway suddenly felt too narrow to breathe in. Then his eyes dropped to my legal pad, and he saw the case number. Alex didn't burst through my door or start yelling. He did something worse. He went quiet, like a man already calculating exits. "I can make this go away," he said finally, voice low. "Tell Tasha to stop. Tell the cops it was a misunderstanding." I stared at him through the cracked door chain and realized he was still trying to manage the story, not the damage. "Leave," I said. His eyes sharpened. "If you do this, Mom will never forgive you." That worked on me for exactly 1 second, until I pictured my credit score sinking, my wages garnished, my name dragged through court while Alex stayed the golden child. After he left, Tasha and I didn't sleep. We made a plan that was boring on paper and brutal in real life. We printed everything twice. We labeled each screenshot with a timestamp. We wrote down every address tied to Hall Consulting LLC, including Mailbox 214 and the storage unit contract. The next morning, I called Detective Ruiz back. "I have evidence," I said, voice shaking. "And my mom's name is involved." Ruiz didn't sound surprised. "Bring it in," he said. "And don't confront him alone. Here's the trick about families like mine. Diane cared more about peace than facts, but she cared about her credit like it was oxygen. So I used the only thing I knew would get her in the same room with the truth. I texted her, 'I think someone used your info for a loan pre-approval. We need to fix it today.' She called immediately. 'Jamie, what are you talking about?' 'I'm meeting with a fraud specialist at the credit union,' I said. 'Come with me. If your name is on anything, you'll want to hear it firsthand.' A beat of silence. Then, cautiously, 'Is Alex coming?' 'Yes,' I lied at first. Then I told the truth, because I was done protecting him. 'He can come if he wants. But I'm not hiding anymore.' I sent Alex one text, Credit Union. 2 p.m. Bring your ID. We settle this like adults." He replied in less than a minute. "Okay, just you and me." At 1:58, Tasha and I sat in a small glass office at the credit union while Ruiz waited in the lobby. When Diane walked through the door and saw the detective, her smile froze. The fraud specialist introduced herself as Ms. Patel and kept her voice gentle, like she was talking to someone in shock. Diane sat stiff beside me, purse clutched in both hands, eyes darting between me and the detective like she'd walked into the wrong room. "What is this?" Diane demanded. Ms. Patel turned her monitor so we could all see. "We're reviewing accounts open using Jamie Hall's social security number," she said, "and a related pre-approval inquiry using Diane Hall's information." Diane's face flushed. "I never authorized anything." "I know," Ms. Patel said. "That's why you're here." She clicked through the file with the calm efficiency of someone who'd seen every version of human mess. April 12th, business revolving account. Credit limit $9,500. Verified by phone. April 19th, purchase at Modern Nest Furniture. $4,870. May 3rd, payment posted. Name on transfer. A. Hall. Ms. Patel highlighted the verification section. The caller provided Jamie's date of birth and security answers, she said. The phone number on record ends in 44. Diane blinked. That's Alex's number. The air changed. I felt it like a pressure drop. Ruiz shifted in the doorway, just close enough to be seen. Alex hadn't arrived yet, and part of me wished he'd stay away forever. Then the lobby door opened, and his footsteps hit the tile like he owned the building. He walked in smiling, then stopped when he saw Ruiz. "Seriously?" he scoffed. "You called the cops on me?" Diane stood up so fast her chair scraped. "Alex, what is this?" He looked at her, then at me, then back at her, and his face rearranged into offense. "Mom, Jamie's having a breakdown. I told you." Ms. Patel clicked one more tab and pulled up the ID scan-on file for Jamie Hall. Alex's face. My name. My address. Diane made a sound like she'd been punched. Alex's smile finally cracked. Okay, he said, hands up. "Yes, I used it. But you don't understand." "Explain," Ruiz said, voice flat. Alex turned on me, eyes sharp with panic and anger. "You always had it easy," he hissed. "You never had anyone threatening to take your kid." Diane's knees wobbled. "Kid?" she whispered. And Ruiz said, quietly, "Alex, put your hands where I can see them." Everything after that moved in fast, ugly little steps. Not the cinematic kind. No dramatic music, no instant justice. Just forms, signatures, and the slow collapse of the story Diane wanted to live in. Ruiz didn't cuff Alex in the office. He did something colder. He separated him from us and took a statement while Ms. Patel froze every account tied to Hall Consulting LLC. Alex kept talking anyway, voice rising and falling like a salesman pitching survival. "I was going to pay it back," he insisted. "I just needed time. Time you bought with my name," I said, and my voice sounded unfamiliar. Diane sat down hard, hands shaking. She didn't look at Alex. She didn't look at me. She stared at the credit union logo on the wall like it might explain how her golden child had turned into a criminal. When she finally spoke, it wasn't to him. "Why would you do this to your brother?" she whispered, and the word brother landed like a slap. Tasha squeezed my knee under the table. "Stay steady." Ms. Patel slid a printout toward Diane. "Your pre-approval inquiry was stopped," she said. "But we have to note it on your file. Your refinance will be delayed until the investigation clears." Diane's face crumpled. "Delayed? I can't." Alex shouted from the hallway. "Jamie did this. She's blowing it up." I wanted to scream that he'd blown it up first. Instead, I sat there, swallowing my anger like I'd been trained to. The next week was a blur of damage control. I spent my lunch breaks on hold with banks, reading account numbers off my screenshots. I filed disputes, sent certified letters, printed the FTC report, and watched my credit score drop 112 points overnight like an elevator with a snapped cable. At the clinic, my manager pulled me aside. "Is everything okay?" she asked carefully, like I was contagious. I smiled and lied, because that's what I did when things were on fire. My cheeks burned every time the front desk called. On Thursday, a process server walked into my clinic and said my name. The summons the process server handed me wasn't for a criminal case. It was a civil filing from the furniture lender, intent to collect, because Jamie Hall had stopped paying. Seeing my name in courthouse font made something in me go very still. Tasha helped me respond the only way that worked, with paperwork and boundaries. We sent certified copies of the police report and the FTC identity theft report to every creditor on my screenshots. We added a 7-year fraud alert. I put locks on my mailbox and my credit like I was sealing a house after a break-in. I also did something I'd avoided for years. I started therapy. My therapist didn't let me call it family drama. She called it betrayal, then asked why I'd been trained to absorb other people's chaos without complaining. Diane didn't come around in a dramatic way. She came around in small, exhausting ones. She texted me recipes. She asked if I'd heard from your brother. Then she'd send a heart emoji like it was a bandage. When I finally answered, I kept it simple. I'm not discussing Alex with you unless it's about the investigation, I wrote. And I'm not apologizing for protecting myself. She replied, I just want my family back. I stared at that message and realized what she meant. She wanted the old arrangement back, where Alex took and I swallowed. 2 weeks later, Alex sent me an email, not a text. Subject, I'm sorry. In the body, a confession, written like someone had coached him. He admitted using my social, admitted the mailbox, admitted Hall Consulting. He didn't say the word Milo. He did attach one thing that mattered, a signed statement authorizing the bank to release records to Ruiz. Tasha read it twice, then looked at me. This helps your case, she said. But it doesn't fix your relationship. I agreed to one meeting, at a coffee shop, in daylight, with Tasha 2 tables away. I slid a single page across to Alex. Conditions. Restitution plan in writing. No contact with my accounts ever again. No more asking Diane to pressure me. If he lied once, I walked. Alex's hands shook as he read it. And for the first time, he didn't try to smile. Then he whispered, there's more you don't know about Milo's mom. At the coffee shop, Alex finally told the truth without trying to decorate it. Milo's mom wasn't some villain in the shadows. She was a tired woman who'd been raising their son while Alex chased opportunities and hid behind Diane's pride. She said if I didn't catch up, she'd go to court. He whispered, fingers clenched around his cup. And if court happened, Mom would find out. Everyone would. So you stole my identity, I said, slow and clear. Because you were scared of embarrassment. He flinched. I was scared of losing Milo. Both could be true, and neither made it okay. I didn't forgive him in that moment. I did something colder and kinder at the same time. I followed through. Ruiz used Alex's signed statement to pull records from the bank and the mailbox store. The credit union produced the ID scan. The storage facility produced the contract with his license number. It wasn't my word against his charm anymore. It was dates and documents. Within a month, the furniture lender dismissed the civil filing against me once they received the identity theft packet. 2 other creditors sent letters stating my liability was removed. My score didn't bounce back overnight, but it stopped bleeding. Alex signed a restitution agreement through his attorney and accepted a plea that kept him out of jail if he paid and stayed clean, financially and otherwise. Diane went through every stage of grief except the one where she yelled at Alex the way she'd yelled at me. But therapy taught me I didn't have to audition for her understanding. I visited her once a week, on my terms. When she started to say, but he's your brother, I'd say, and I'm your daughter, and let the silence do the work. The only time I saw Milo was from a distance, outside a supervised visitation center. Small sneakers, a backpack too big for his shoulders, Alex kneeling to tie a lace like he was trying to become someone else. I didn't go up and introduce myself. Not yet. I just watched and felt something loosen inside my chest.